Hey YouTubers, this is Crud Big Rig here again, and with a gear review as well as an AR15 cleaning video, because this multi-tool that I'm going to introduce is kind of specifically designed for the AR15 platform. We have the Leatherman MUT EOD version. I actually got this for Christmas last year, and I'm just about done testing it. It's a fantastic multi-tool. It's a little on the heavy side, super heavy duty. But if you need one multi-tool, this is definitely it, especially if you're a gun guy, because this has a lot of nice features to it. So without any further delay, I'll show you all the different features of this multi-tool. On the outside here, you have a nice belt clip, which is pretty nice in case you don't want to use the very nice MOLLE attached pouch. You have a carabiner clip. The inside of the carabiner, if you can see here, try to get it focused for you. You'll see that little bottle. That's because this carabiner is also a makeshift bottle opener. Pretty neat, isn't it? You've got your belt cutter for emergencies. You've got this flat piece here that can actually be used as a hammer. You just grab it like that and give whatever it is a few taps. You have a C4 punch, because this is the EOD model. You can take these off and put the standard MUT attachments on here. I do believe this is for a punch, normally for taking down the takedown pins. Brass carbon scraper. This right here is worth the entire tool. It is just that good. It's also user replaceable by taking out this bolt. You have your standard Leatherman locking blade with serrations on the bottom, which is perfect for cutting small twigs and whatnot, or loose material. Then you have a saw as well that locks into place. You have this locking piece that is used for keeping the whole system locked down. Start opening it up. Now you have some specialized tools for the EOD model, and so a lot of them I don't really need. Like the C4 punch is a little ridiculous for me. However, my day job is a job that involves blowing things up, so it's kind of cool just as a gift from your father, because I work with him, and it's sort of a father-son bonding item. You have needle nose pliers, which is fantastic because I do a lot of wiring at my job. You have crimpers for blasting caps, which is ridiculous, but it's on the cool side. You have cutters here too, right here, that are, the blades are serviceable. You can take that Allen key out, unloosen the bolt, and swap these blades out, which is another very nice thing about the Leathermans. On the other side of the tool, right here is your attachment point for all the screw heads that come with it. If you see, the outside of this tool set has a flathead screwdriver as well as a Phillips screwdriver, and then on this side, this is something really cool that I absolutely love about this setup. You have this three-way detent pin that allows you to take out the screwdriver bits. Let's see if I can. There we go. And again, you have a longer flathead and Phillips, and you put the bit in while depressing this metal piece, which I wasn't aware of before. You'll hear it click, and it clicks into place. And then if you shut the tool, now you have a working screwdriver. If you need a little bit of torque, I'm sure you could hold it like that and tighten down with it. To take it out, you do have to depress that piece of metal again, and then slide it back in. Now again, you have your extended drivers as well as extended Torx heads, and these are the mil-spec Torx heads that are used on all the Leupold scopes, as well as the other mil-spec ones out there. One of the other cool features is the fact that it's threaded on several portions of this tool to thread a where's the other one here, to thread a cleaning rod in, so you can use this as the cleaning rod handle. I'm actually going to be tearing down my SBR. This is a Knight's Armament rifle for the most part. I got a Noveski stripped up, or a BCM barrel to it, but for just about all intents and purposes, this is almost what you would call a factory SBR that they're offering. Now, this is not a factory one. It's my home built one. This was as close as I could get for the money, and I really didn't feel like spending, you know, $2,000, $2,500 on an SBR, especially when the standard Knight's rifle has that enhanced bolt, the E3, which isn't compatible with the other barrel extensions. So I just decided to go with I wouldn't call it a mil-spec, but the LMT enhanced bolt. The carrier itself is the full auto carrier, but it's just standard LMT. It doesn't have the extra drill holes in it. I put quite a few rounds through this yesterday in a night class, and well, she needs cleaned. When I'm aiming for it, because of how close we are, I'm actually putting that red dot on the top of that circle. Bolt carrier. Now if you see that nice glistening, that is from the Frog Lube. It's pretty neat stuff, just because it slicks up whenever it's hot. After it dries off, it kind of looks like chapstick. But yeah, we got a nice dirty bolt carrier group. That head's supposed to be chrome lined, so it's pretty dirty. I've gotten it a lot dirtier than this, but right now with the cost of ammunition, it's kind of getting hard to really stress test these rifles. Okay, so what we're going to be cleaning today is the upper receiver, the lower receiver, the bolt carrier group, your charging handle. I will not be touching the barrel, because I, like a lot of people, believe that the biggest problem with gun owners is they tend to over clean everything. And with the barrel especially, I know quite a few guys that they scrub their rifle after 20 rounds. What happens if you clean something too much or too hard? Ends up damaging whatever it is you're cleaning. That rifle is a good example. The barrel. If you have any grit on your barrel rod, if you have any grit on something like the Uncle Mike's, not Uncle Mike's, Otis cleaning system, if you have debris, grit on there, and you're not wiping it off every time, you're putting microscopic scratches along that bore. Now, I know mine's chrome lined, however, you can still scratch chrome lining. It takes a little while, but you can do it. I'm much more under the impression, especially if you're using your rifle, I'm not talking, you know, shooting 400 rounds and then putting it away and not touching it for a year. If you do that, you definitely want to clean that barrel, get everything out. But if you're constantly just running the gun, if you're in classes and whatnot, I'd completely avoid cleaning the barrel. All I would do is put, you know, a swab of oil through the barrel just to make sure that it won't rust. Other than that, I say shoot it until you start seeing your groups open up. So we'll start off with the first thing that's really nice about this Leatherman MUT is the fact that it's a multi-use utility tool. Biggest problem I've always had with the AR15 system is getting this damn pin out. Pulls right out, no problems. You see the pin came out. Now you got your firing pin out. That's the the dirty part of the rifle. I just give it just a good rub down. Nothing too serious right now, just enough to get grit and crap off of it. And you'll see here one of the biggest issues is getting that little circle ring off, and we will be able to do that very easily with this cleaning kit. Go ahead and wipe down that little cotter pin. Next, push back the bolt, twist the cam pin, pull it out. Again, wipe the cam pin off. Look at all that crap coming off of it. And that's because one of the really awesome things about frog lube is that carbon just does not seem to want to stick to it. Look at that already, nice and shiny, if I can ever get my camera to focus on it. Just like a cam pin should be with usage. Now you've seen this bolt before when it was clean on my LMT bolt carrier group review. Look at how thick and black and disgusting this is. Let's see if I can get that should all be chrome, nice super shiny chrome. We're gonna just wipe a lot of that off. I'm not doing anything special, just using your standard, you know, brawny style paper towels and just wiping it off. And that's because, one, carbon doesn't really like to stick to chrome that well, which is also why I like the LMT bolt. And frog lube tends to take most of that carbon off. Now you'll see here you got a little bit on the tail, but we'll fix that very soon. Don't forget to get the lugs. And a lot of people say, you know, frog lube's a gimmicky product. It does just work. I don't really give a damn what other people think. It's just an amazing product. It truly is what they say it does, which I know a lot of people say, you know, oh, it's just like snake oil. It doesn't really exist. Well, frog lube does do exactly that, as long as you make sure to season everything appropriately. And what I mean by seasoning is you got to make sure to take whatever item you have that's metal, in particular this bolt carrier group. I soaked all the parts in frog lube, and then I flat out put it in an oven at 200 degrees for over an hour just to let it soak in. The reason I'm really not explaining the breakdown of the LMT bolt is just because I got that other video, you guys can watch it. But it has your dual spring style extractor. They call it a lobster tail extractor. The face of the bolt fully supports the cartridge and whatnot. Just a little bit different than your standard AR bolt. Now the dirty part, bolt carrier group. In fact, I'm going to take a brand new towel for this. It's that special. Take the whole bolt carrier group. And again, this rifle for me, the reason I built it is as a combat rifle. That's all that crap. Now, one of the nice parts about that Leatherman is if you don't have something like, say, this wonderful handy dandy towel and you just had patches, you could work all the same areas in almost identical fashion. Now that I got pretty much everything wiped down, don't forget inside here where the firing pin sits, because it gets pretty disgusting. Get down in there. Get whatever crap you can off. That's pretty much all wiped down. Get our multi-tool out. Lock it into place. And there's your carbon. And it's kind of hard to get everything real quick, but you know what, this is a lot better than trying to use your hands, so you can get a decent amount of carbon off each time. And again, it's designed for the M16 family of weapon systems, so there's really just minimal space on what's needed. If they didn't need to make their product any longer than they had to, they didn't. They really did well on that. So that we scraped a good bit of that off. Now in theory, there should be more of that crap to come out. However, thanks to that frog lube, carbon tends to not stick on it very well. Now the true test. Get all that carbon out. I'll do is I'll squirt a little bit of frog lube in on there, just a hair, just enough to coat everything, and then go at it. And it seems like frog lube on contact with carbon tends to just eat the stuff, which I'm not going to complain about. Okay, we got a few more spots to clean up. I try not to be super anal about it because the stuff's just going to come back. It's just enough to get a bulk majority of it off. Okay, so you have a pretty darn clean bolt now. You got your clean bolt carrier group. Now we'll work on the charging handle. This one's real simple. You just wipe, dip inside, and to be honest with you, I can't really imagine the charging handle getting too gummed up unless you're doing something like a lot of suppressive fire. You have a can on here, it'll probably get pretty darn gunky, but as you can see, a nice worn charging handle on that, and that's the gas buster charging handle from PRI. Take the lower and upper apart, and again, you just want to clean the trigger group. And remember, guys, with NFA weapons, you always want to engrave them. I know it's a big pain in the ass, and a lot of guys don't like it, but quite frankly, is it really worth going to jail for a few years? Guy I know pretty well, his name is Josh. He works for Allegheny Gunworks. It's actually his company. He did mine. He did a fantastic job. He did right under the trigger guard there. And yes, it is upside down. That's just because I don't really want you knowing my real name. That's just for security reasons. So this is a Knight's 2-stage trigger to it. I'm going to be doing a review on this gun too. In fact, it'll probably be on the same exact day. So don't get angry if I got the same clothes on. Deal with it, because I have to do this very sparingly because I don't have the free time to be doing all kinds of YouTube videos. You can see in there, nice and gooky. I'll call it gooky. Just wipe off the excess. Get up against the barrel extension as best as possible. Get deep inside there. Unfortunately, also the other reason why I'm not cleaning my barrel is because I finally killed my Otis cleaning rod, the braided kind. It's been really great to me, but I was cleaning this exact rifle, and a word to the wise: if you have a gun that has an ambidextrous bolt release, make sure that the bolt release doesn't touch anything on the floor, because what happened was I had the bolt back, I was pulling the cleaning rod through the rifle, and I accidentally hit the bolt release on the table, and bolt slammed forward, cut the braided cable. It actually went right through that sealant that the braided cable uses, and I wasn't going to put a steel braided cable through my gun when I don't have to, so threw it away. I'll be getting a new one soon after I purchase my new suppressor. Now the one thing that I really love, and I hate to admit it because the company that made them, but if you don't have a chamber brush, the best thing in the world to have are these Tapco felt pads. That's because they fit in your chamber area perfectly. No more scrubbing with little Q-tips everywhere. Just take a cleaning rod, thread it in the center, which is what it's designed to do. Alright, it's threaded. Put a little lube on there. Actually, don't prefer to use it sparingly. I put quite a bit of oil on here because I don't have a chamber brush. I had the worst luck in the world with chamber brushes. So you got that nice frog lube all over the place. Put your felt pad in here. See how perfectly it goes in and out, cleans all those nice locking lug areas. Twists in there, do a little bit of twist scrubbing out in front of the locking lugs, which is a very hard place to get at, and voila. You can also use it to kind of scrub inside here too if you have to. And look at that. Gets rid of the majority of the at least the oil residue that's left behind. And I'll put one more on here. Then I'll just kind of dry up all the gunk. Sometimes you have to be very careful on pulling it out because I don't have the cleaning jig like I normally do for this. It's crap that you could most likely never get to with a Q-tip. Especially the hardest part is you can clean straight down into here from behind like that. You can clean here. If you go through the hole here and clean up here, that's no problem, but this section right here almost never gets scrubbed, that wall, because you can't really access it. So take my final cleaning towel, get all that crap off. Clean where the cam pin sits. I guess you can call it the unlocking recess, because that's really the proper term to use. Yes. Get that track where the charging handle sits. Which is quite messy. Alright, now put everything back together. This time making sure to lubricate everything properly. First, what I like to do is I do the charging handle first because it generally just drops out of place constantly when you're trying to clean it. So just put a light layer of lube everywhere on all the rubbing surfaces. I like to put a little drop right in there where the spring is, if you can. Just like that. Work it a little bit. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Take the the excess, kind of rub it around just to give it some protection. Take your, just keep it locked in there for now. Next, get your lower, put some lube on your bearing surfaces as always. And you can see I wasn't very gentle about getting the oil into the, the spring, trigger spring area. That's because it just finds its way down there. And then get where your primary trigger pin is compared to your hammer pin, and drop just a few little drops of oil in there. And again, just work it. Lock it back. Now, on the AR system, typically you want to use as little oil as possible. On this frog lube, since it works very, very well on drying and then getting wet again once the gun starts getting hot, you can be a little bit more liberal with all that jazz. Got your extractor. Make sure you clean the lip of the extractor, because that's what does all your business. So, got your extractor nice and clean. Put your 2 springs in, if you have such a device. And this LMT bolt is almost identical to the E3 bolt, except that the bolt head lugs aren't rounded off. E3 bolt, the bolt lugs are rounded off, and it's also in black, because, you know, that makes it 10 times deadlier, obviously. Okay, told you I was going to clean the firing spring pin, and I kind of forgot about it, so like a good boy. I'm going to show you, because I don't typically do this. I'm not that anal about everything, but just go around chipping off as much of that as you can, just enough to break up most of that carbon. It really doesn't get that bad, but some of those guys that have to have absolutely all carbon off, this tool will do it. That's good enough for me personally, even though I really didn't touch it at all. Okay, so next, your bolt carrier group assembly. You want to start with your bolt, take some oil and put it all over the tail. Work it in front of the tail too. And really, you're more worried about from this point over, because that's what makes contact and is supported by the bolt carrier group. Now you got that all nice and oiled, just pop it in. Don't worry about those little rings that they say you have to align for proper function. That's complete bullshit. Your extractor, you want it to point towards these holes, so your extractor's right there, pointed towards the holes. That way you know it's aligned. Take your cam pin, put just a drop of oil on it too. Get it nice and cleaned up. And you see that hole right there? You want it in there. Push the bolt forward, twist the cam pin until it's in position. Then take the bolt firing pin, and I'm just using some residual oil, putting it on the firing pin. since I actually kind of like the firing pin to be dry. Full auto bolt carrier group, it's kind of hard sometimes to get that firing pin perfectly in there. You have to come in just the right angle, drop it in like so. Man, I am fucking up all kinds of ways today. That's the side that you go into appropriately. Ta-da! Works much better if you use the correct side. I'm working on 2 hours of sleep, so just deal with it. Right now, put a drop of oil, work it all in. Now only concentrate from here forward. A lot of guys put oil on the tail and everything. You don't need to do that. Just get it nice and oiled. Okay, now that's done. Put a little bit of oil around the head. Gotta work that head. Just work it. Work it. And I know Rainbow Bright is giggling right now watching this because she's got a sick sense of humor just like me. Alright, now that you have it properly lubed, give it a twist. Alright, now make sure that the bolt is forward. Take your rifle, pull the carrier out just slightly, enough for that key to go in. Pull it all the way, push it forward, down, function check. Trigger locks back, trigger release, fire, safety works. Okay, and that's it. That is your standard cleaning of an AR15 as well as the Leatherman MUT review. I usually like doing reviews on tools that I use in real life situations. I'm not a collector of fancy gadgets. This does work very, very well. I keep this in my bag at all times. It is expensive, however, if you like good tools, if you love Leatherman, this is the tool to buy. I also believe it has a 25-year warranty on it, which that right there should tell you how much they approve of their own tools. If you'd like more reviews on little gear gadgets like this, which a multi-tool is kind of crucial, if I do say so myself, please just comment and subscribe to me. Thanks, YouTubers.